Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 1 Samuel, the 13th chapter. And as we went through in the 12th chapter, after the Lord had used Saul to bring that victory in delivering the men of Jabesh Gilead, and after the reproving, right, of Israel at Gilgal by Samuel, we now continue on with the story of Saul. 1 Samuel 13:1, Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose him 3,000 men of Israel, whereof 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in Mount Bethel. So basically, like you could think of him like a special unit, right, or trained warriors. And he divided it, 2,000 with him, and 1,000 were with Jonathan, his son, in Gibeah of Benjamin. And the rest of the people he sent every man to his tent. And Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in Gibeah, and the Philistines heard of it. So they had stationed, some of their men, the Philistines that is, in here, and Jonathan with those that were with him, he basically went and cooked them. So when the Philistines got word of it, it says, and Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, let the Hebrews hear. So basically they were commencing war to go against the Philistines. Because remember, a part of why they wanted a king was not just to hey, we have a king, but to help them fight against the Philistines. So verse 4, and all Israel heard say that Saul had smitten a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel also had an abomination with the Philistines, meaning like they heard, okay, Saul went and basically, took out one of the garrisons of the Philistines, and now the Philistines they're real upset about it. And the people were called together after Saul to Gilgal, so they assembled, with their armies, basically ready to fight. And the Philistines gathered themselves together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and the people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. So the armies of the Philistines that came out were a lot. Let's just say that. And they came up and pitched in Michmash eastward from Bethaven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in a strait, so when they saw the numbers and they saw, how it looked, and we're about to see, we'll read down and see why they were even in a more difficult position than it may appear to seem. So when they realized this, for the people were distressed, then the people did hide themselves in caves and in thickets and in rocks and in high places and in pits. Thickets are like bushes. So everybody basically, dipped out and went to hide. And some of the Hebrews went over Jordan to the land of Gilead, or the land of Gad and Gilead. So they crossed, they crossed that Jordan River over into the side of Gad to flee from the face of the army of the Philistines that came. As for Saul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling. And he tarried 7 days, according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal. So remember, going back a couple chapters, when Saul first met Samuel and Samuel showed him the signs, one of those also was when he was to go to Gilgal to wait, and Samuel would come there. But here he is, right? And 7 days later, he still hasn't seen Samuel. And the people were scattered from him. So eventually those that were with him started to leave, to dip out, because they were afraid. They were like, shit, these Philistines are about to get us. We gotta go. And Saul said, bring hither a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came. Now Samuel told him not to do, because Samuel was going to be the one to do it. And Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. And Samuel said, what hast thou done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. So, I was in a difficult position, right? You weren't here. The people were leaving. The Philistines were closing in. Therefore said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me at Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord Yahweh. So I haven't sacrificed unto the Lord. If I don't do something to gain favor, it might not turn out good for us. So out of desperation, as he says, I forced myself therefore and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord Yahweh thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. If only you had just been obedient, he would have established that kingdom with you, and it would just pass on down from your line all the way down. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord Yahweh hath sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. So in other words, the Lord has replaced you. Because of your disobedience, he has chosen somebody else instead of you. And Samuel arose and gat him up from Gilgal on to Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people that were present with him, about 600 men. And Saul and Jonathan his son, and the people that were present with them, abode in Gibeah of Benjamin. But the Philistines encamped in Michmash. So you had the Philistines with their armies over there, Saul and Jonathan now in Gibeah. And the spoilers came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. So the spoilers being their armies, their troops. And they divided into 3 groups. One company turned onto the way that leadeth to Ophrah, onto the land of Shual. And another company turned to the way of Beth Horon. And another company turned to the way of the border that looketh to the valley of Zeboim toward the wilderness. So it's almost like they had spread out to divide and conquer to start to basically put that pressure on Israel. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, the blacksmith, that is, the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. So a lot of the Israelites were not armed. On top of the fact that the Philistines came out with a large army, a lot of Israel was not armed. And that's what made them even more distressed to say, how are we going to go against them? We don't even have weapons. Because the Philistines having dominion in these portions made it so that the Israel didn't have their own blacksmiths. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share and his cutler and his axe and his mattock, which is their plowshares and their axes and their tools that they would use, for agriculture. So they would go there to the Philistines, and as it says, and yet they had a file for the mattocks, and that's like a charge, right? So they would pay the Philistines to get their tools sharpened, right? That file is a price or a charge. So they would go to the Philistines, they would pay to have their mattocks or their plowshares sharpened, and for the cutlers or coulters, and for the forks, and for the axes, and to sharpen the goads. And the goad is what it looks like here. Goad. Cattle. Yeah, like this, with a sharp, pointy end, and then they would use it to poke the cattle to have it move or point in the right direction. Verse 22, so it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Jonathan. But with Saul and Jonathan his son was there found. So they except for Saul and Jonathan, they had weapons, but everybody else didn't. And the garrison, because remember also that after Jonathan has smote the garrison, it's likely that they might have found some weapons there and probably took those, right? And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the passage of Michmash. And so as the story goes on and the battle intensifies, we come to the end of 1 Samuel, the 13th chapter. And Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. Closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.